realize my camera is all moved. Sorry, trying to get adjusted here. My camera is all over the place. It's still not right. Oh, I get it. It wasn't a computer. It's the computer's moved. Good morning and welcome to my Corey Thorne, the spiritual healer. Sorry, if you're in all the time, you're very used to these kind of things happening in my world. And if you're new, well, welcome to my crazy world. I am just now trying to bring my live up on my phone. Good morning, Joanne and Colleen. Good morning. And Kathy, good morning. Just getting set up here with my cards and with the phone. I was set up and everything went to rat shit on me. So that's kind of the energy that's in the air today. So bear with me. We're just letting some people join in before I start. And I'm just finding the card of the day in the deck. I do have it brought up. If you have not been watching these mornings, this is my deck of goddess cards. It is the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. So it is a combination of the everyday woman blended through the energy of all goddess energy. Also blended with that of the divine and the beautiful angels and the angelic. And the angels made their way into the deck because it's a very important part of who I am. And this deck of oracle cards really resonates with the story of my journey from where I was to more than existing, to coming beyond our shadows, to be able to walk in our truth. And that's where we are. Just gotta close. I have to close that when I have to close the blinds when I'm doing my lives because the camera keeps adjusting. The clouds go over the light, over the sun. Good morning, Alicia. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. And so today we are on card number 41. We are almost done. We're almost done going through each and every card of my oracle cards. So if people are wondering why she's not shuffling, it's because she's not shuffling when the first card comes out because it's in order. I am introducing you to each and every card by name, by the message that they're coming up with for me for today. The messages that are written out for each card and how it comes is not always as the message that you're getting today. So when they do go up for pre-sale and you do receive your deck of oracle cards if you're buying them, is that they do have an upright and they have a reverse meaning as well. And so they have what she represents, and then they have the attitude that you may be representing to you as you're reading the cards. So we're going to start by bringing up the first card. So our first card, and the card that's in order, is card number 41. We are at 41. We only got till Thursday left for each and every card. And so this is the creator of worlds, the enchanting alchemist. And I just finished writing a whole bunch of stuff from my level 4s of More Than Existing early this morning that I've been up and writing. A lot of information's coming through. And I'm writing a lot about potential. And so everybody wants to be the alchemist. Everybody wants to be a guru. Everybody wants to achieve that level of enlightenment. And so I'm like, your success that you create in the world is that in the material world is not enlightenment. And that's a hard thing for people, is that you want to be this, you want to be this person, you want to be that. And so when you look at the card, and I'm looking over at her because she's looking at me, even though she's not looking at anybody, she's looking out. So she's speaking to the world. She's speaking to the world that she lives in, her world. And as you can see, she has no audience. She has nothing but the birds, the trees, nature. She is speaking to nature because nature is what's speaking to her. And that's a big part of when you start to become that enlightened being. I'm like, everybody, if you read the alchemist book, you can convince yourself that you are the alchemist until you get to the end. Oh, I do that. Oh, I live that way. Oh, I do that. Oh yeah, no, I would never do that. So every time you do the I would or I would never, you start to realize how much of that is coming from ego-based, because every single one of us has the potential in us to be the light and to be the dark. And we all have those moments. And we also have the potential to be a trickster energy to our own truth. And so when you look at the alchemist, when I always say, when people call me the guru and I say I'm no one's guru, is because not for one moment do I believe that I have reached that level of enlightenment of where I could say that. Today, I am that much closer. But when I created these and when I got there, I'm definitely heading more into that energy without a doubt. But I've had to shed a lot to get there, but I'm not there because I still have an emotional attachment to some outcomes, like wanting somebody to do, sometimes wanting somebody to do something that they're not wanting to do and make a change. And so sometimes if you feel yourself getting frustrated with somebody, then that means you have not reached that level of enlightenment. And all illusions that you tell yourself, all the truth that you tell yourself about how great you are, trust me, I've been there, that's farther away from where the enchanted alchemist really, really is. And so the enchanted alchemist is the creator of worlds. But what kind of world are you creating? You create your truth. You take your illusions, your fantasies, and you create them into the world that you want to live in. We all do. And so when I'm looking at her and I'm looking at this card, I realize that there's a lot of clarity in her. But if you look closely at her, there's still some darker places. Now, is that still the shadow alive in her? Or is that the reminder of that she has it within her, but it doesn't have the ownership? So she's holding the light in front of her. So the only true truth of the purest of enlightenment would be that of God. Whatever God means for you, that universal energy that is so beyond us that there's nothing that we will ever, there's nothing, no way in this world that we will ever know it all. So to be an all-knowing is not the same as being a know-it-all. So a know-it-all wants to tell everybody how to do everything. And that's what I always say about being a life coach. I remember attending my very first life coach training class when I went to school way back. And the first thing the instructor said to us was, how many people are here because they're really good at telling people what to do with their lives? They're really good at giving out advice. And of course, 95% of the class, 99% of the class raised their hand and or yelled out, yes, me. And raise our hand, I mean our electronic hand, because we were never visually on screen. And so you'd raise that little electronic, me, I'm so good. Everybody comes to me for that advice. And I'm always giving people advice. And the first thing out of their mouths was, well, that means right now you may be uncoachable. And that was a humbling experience for most of the class. I didn't put up my hand because I knew it was a trick question. I knew that was going to be a trick question because, of course, I can read that before it comes in at us. And so it's not the fact that you become very good at giving advice or telling people what to do with their lives. It's the fact that you teach people how to be able to question themselves. And a life coach shows people that you have everything that you need within you if you learn to start to trust yourself. But we are a melting pot of stories and emotions. So the alchemist teaches about potential. And it's not that we don't have potential. And what More Than Existing teaches is the fact that we are all emotionally immature and we're trying to keep up. We're trying to keep up and level up to this potential that we're told. We drink the Kool-Aid. We're sold the magic on potential. And when you can stop being sold so much on the magic of potential and realize the power of potential, that you start to be able to look at it in a way of, kids have the potential to be fighting machines. So back years ago, they had the potential because they were young, they could run fast, they were quick on their feet, they had no fear. So they had great potential to be soldiers and to go to war. And there's still countries where that is happening. But just because they have the potential doesn't mean that's where you place them, because they don't have the maturity. And because they don't have the maturity, you turn boys into men before their time. We're still doing the same way. And when we go, oh my God, yes, we did do that. No, that's still happening in the world, but it's also happening in the stories that we tell our kids about how bad the world is. And oh my God, you need to be on guard. You need to be watching these people. You need to be. And so kids don't have the mental capacity or the maturity to understand the full capacity of that. But the fact that we are teaching that The fact that we are giving that shows that we have all this potential, but we also have a lot of fear. So emotional maturity is still very, very present within the adults of the world. So just because we look like adults, we're not really always acting like adults because of the emotional immaturity based on the past trauma and based on being raised by a world that didn't have the emotional maturity. More than existing, and all that I teach is about doing the work on you first, because self-actualization, self-awareness to the unseen wounds and to where and how everybody taught us to our values, our belief systems, where we got all of that, we need to go back to the original source. And we need to go back and we need to start exploring that. Yes, kids have potential to be soldiers, but should kids be soldiers? No. So even now in all the games that we have, we wonder why kids have such a disassociation, such a disconnect to the world, or why they have such a fear-based world they're living in, is because we are turning children into adults still, and we have these expectations upon them to understand the world, but not just as a parent, as what we are allowing them to be exposed to and what they're exposed to in social media, in this world of electronics. So a child who gets to spend 6 hours a day with a virtual war, being at virtual war and always having to plan ahead for the attack that's coming in the game they're playing, is now doesn't have, they have the potential to be able to survive an attack, but they haven't got the emotional maturity to understand socializing and connection and those things that we are here to teach children. But they already know all of these things. So the creator of the world is when you start to stop, pause, and take a good look at our own emotional capacity and why we have depression, why we have these things that are overriding, why we have such a fear society, and why fear can so easily lead us into jumping on ship with everything that is being thrown at us without questioning. And if we don't question, we are giving up our free will. We're giving up so much of the freedom. And when we start to question and you get attacked for questioning, then people shut down. Oh, how dare you? You're a conspiracy and da 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 because you are questioning. No, question. And tell people, it's okay to question. What is wrong with questioning? So the enchanted alchemists really truly question everything, including your own motives. Because if you're questioning the world, but you're not questioning yourself, then you are so far away from you that you have lost yourself, right? And so when you get so far away from you that you're questioning all of the world and why all the world is why it is and why all the world does this stuff to you, but you don't question your own actions, your own behavior, how you're showing up in the world, what you're doing, what you are instilling as core values and beliefs, even up on the next generations, we got some issues. And so we're not gurus. That's not being a guru, and that is not being an alchemist. So there's a lot of things that leads to being a guru. And if you look at the major gurus, I always say that what people don't realize when they go train under gurus and you go to learn all this spiritual work, is that if you look at where they actually live, most live in poor poverty countries, not all, but they live in poor poverty countries, some of the best gurus in the world, because they don't see themselves as best. They are the peace and the calm all around them. They're not there trying to change the world. They go within to know the power of the peace that is within. When you allow this to evolve, allow this to mature, allow this to heal. You let this heal and you let this become the focus of where you place your focus, and the whole world may change. But now we've got all of this stuff that's fast tracking. Let's fast track you so that you don't have to deal with nothing. And if you don't have to deal with nothing, yay, until something triggers you again. Let's fast track you and you'll become a guru. And you'll be a guru, but you have no life experience and you haven't emotionally matured to reach that potential. But we're going to give you all the potential and we're going to show you everything that you really are out there in that universe. That you are as powerful as the sun, moon, and the stars. And you have all of that in you. But let's ignore the fact that you just had all this human experience and all this human time to be contaminated. So the toxins and the contamination of your thoughts and mind are still there, but you can believe that it doesn't exist until you are triggered, right? And so those beautiful things that are in the world are potentials. So instead of trying to preach to the world, start to preach to self first. And that's what I did. When I was given this work and I realized, what the hell? I'm still, here I am, still expecting, still having things. There's something wrong here. And I need to more than just exist. I need to be more than this hamster wheel of life. And so where do I need to make the changes? Where do I need to show up for myself? And to not be so concerned about being a celebrity or being anything else. And that's where the inward journey went. And in silence, I learned a whole lot. And it was that the one person that I forgot was me. So the most forgotten person in your world is the true you that is behind there, that still has all of those immaturities. So you can drink the Kool-Aid and you can be on that whole, let's make people think impulsively, blah, 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 blah. But it will crash. Trust me. I've crashed more times than I've been up because the emotional maturity wasn't there first. And now I can honestly say that I have done the emotional maturity that is needed to be able to match the God-given gift of wisdom that I am gifted as this person. But I don't preach that all of that wisdom that I had to the world, that I wasn't able to match the potential of what I am given as this person who's been blessed with these gifts. And so it was stuff that I can't give to the world, what I'm not prepared to be able to live myself. And that's a truth. And so you create the world that you live in. So you can tell yourself, you can create the illusion that you are the most amazing person in the world. And you can convince yourself that you have no work to do on yourself. And you can convince yourself that you have all the work in the world to do on yourself. And you can convince yourself that you are broken every single day. And you can create those worlds around it. But where's the real truth? And getting back to the original is an important thing. Let me go back and read. Good morning, everybody who's joined me in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you, Teresa. Yes, I absolutely, like, these cards are they've come to life so beautifully. And this is now, the card you're looking at today is the final deck. Like, we have them figured out. This is the design that is going to be going to print. We have that down pat now. We finally laid down the final design and all the pieces are now fixed. And so the cards themselves are ready. The writings I'm still rewriting because I shredded the first book, because that's how it goes. I shredded the first messages. And so same here with emotional maturity. Life lessons are never ending, right? And so this is right. And so when you look at life, and I always say, there's a lot of stuff and information out there about being raised by emotionally immature parents. And I'm not going to lay it on the emotionally immature parents. I'm going to lay it on the immature world, that the human race is still so young. But they have such desire, because we have such human knowledge to reach potential, and that we've drank the Kool-Aid and been pushed that you have to achieve this number one, that you will be everything. When you make your first million, you'll be everything. You'll have the world by the tail, da 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 da. And I just finished watching this documentary about this country, in one of the countries where somebody had a dream to build all these castles and for everybody to be able to come purchase their dream. Your dream is right here waiting for you. Well, the person had a great dream, a beautiful idea, all these white castles in this beautiful sandy area, this hidden gem of the world. But they never emotionally immatured the dream. They didn't emotionally mature their potential. They didn't emotionally mature themselves. They didn't emotionally mature the money. Nothing was matured enough to grow that dream. So they started to lay down the foundations and build that dream. And then something triggered a ripple effect and everything crashed. And that's it. If you don't do the work, so something triggered that emotional, that fall down, and everything crumbled. So people believed in the dream, didn't question it, jumped on board, invested all this money, got all involved in the big dream. And I don't mean like a couple $1,000s. I mean millions. And the economy crashed. The economy in that country crashed because the money was worthless, because anybody can print money. Money, any government can print as much money, including our own countries, and that's what they're doing, is that we're laying out money and give everybody all this money, but you're living off the back of the people, and the people pay the taxes, right? And so the people are held accountable and responsible, and you can print all the money in the world you want, but something will cause a fall down and a collapse. Well, that country collapsed. And when it did, every one of those castles are left falling to rubble. And I would say, I meet people in rubbles. That's how More Than Existing came about for myself, was that I recognize through all the people that I'm meeting in rubbles that when your world falls apart, that's when you reach out. You don't reach out when you're healthy. And so when people come to see me, I'm like, well, why don't you come see me when you're feeling good? Because then you can really truly start to gain momentum. You can perceive and absorb and understand what I'm giving, rather than waiting for the collapse. If you wait for the collapse and you only show up when you're collapsed, then you're going to build up this false potential. So we go from 0 to 180, and you're just like that. Oh, I got this. I know this, and I don't need this, and I got this all figured out. And then poof. And that's why people think they're gurus and they are alchemists. And then when the world collapses, you see the worst of them, or you see them not get their way. You don't get the political party you wanted. And when you don't get the political party you wanted, holy fuck, the world went to shit. Right. And so all of this stuff collapses based on the maturity. So we have a world problem. We don't have a personal problem. We have, because we believed it to be true. And so this is where the enchanted alchemist came from. And I said, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Is that I'm going to walk my middle road. An alchemist and a guru stays in the center of the crossroads. They look at all sides. They look at all stories. They don't believe this or believe that. They know there's a truth beyond what the human world is living within, but they also know the power out there is something we can never match. And that's the problem. Humans are trying to be that. Humans are trying to be that God, and you can never be that. That is so infinite and so beyond anything that we will not even see what is there, but we want it. Because why? Because we have greed, because we have that potential that we're fed, that we're told that you can be anything that you want to be. Well, what are you doing to be that anything? Right? You can have anything. Yes, you should have this. And yes, that job should pay you all that money. But who's paying for all that? At the cost of who and what will you get what you want? And when you can move beyond all of that, that's when that beautiful alchemist, she knows her truth. She knows where she's come from. And she's put her angelic wings aside. She's put the angel aside. She stopped pretending that she's perfectly innocent, or that she's innocent to the world, or that she's innocent in her own actions and behaviors. She's let her hair down. She's relaxed in what she can control, and realized you can't control shit. She realizes she'll leave the angel wings to the sky. She realizes that the birds with the wings are more angelic than we'll ever be. that the birds that are flying, the geese, are more wiser than we'll ever be, because they're smart enough to know that when winter's coming and when hard times are coming, they fly towards the frickin' sun. They go to warm places because they're smarter than that. They know how to care. The trees can live amongst each other, and the trees don't fight. The trees can be different species of trees, and look at that. Their branches can touch, and they're not going to be offended by each other that one tree is bigger than the other. And their roots are going to lock together so that they can work together, so that they can be there together. We haven't figured it out because we are emotionally mature as human beings. And that's the truth. And we don't want this, because if there's people in the world that don't want us to be this, because if we become this, we will not need that what they're trying to sell us. And that's the truth. Yeah. Good morning, everyone else who's joined in. Raina, I was so on never-ending escalator out of my basement. I finally decided I'm done. Still in the basement, but it's stronger and brighter and blueprinting my own, right? More than existing. Raina is more than existing. And that is the whole point of why there's 4 levels. I can teach anybody the course of how to teach other people to more than exist. But if you don't more than exist first, if you don't go back and restructure a strong foundation and build up the blueprint, build it before you build. And that's the truth. You wouldn't build a house without building it before you built. So why do we let children grow up and we make them be adults or put them into a world that they're not ready for? And why do we place ourselves at trying to be the top when we're not ready to be the top? Right? The guru stands at the crossroads. And when you see a guru who's not at the crossroads and they're choosing a side and they're drinking the Kool-Aid, then they are contaminated by the ego. And that's the truth. And it's like there's something of the ego that's getting in. Not saying, it's not saying that you don't take a side or you don't have your own opinions or your own thoughts, but you're willing to listen. You can still walk your own path, but you're willing to be more open and listen, and you're not so offended by a world. And don't stop doing the work once you start to feel better. Yes, exactly. Because that's the last of, and Samantha also knows knows the more than existing journey. And so in some of my work I create, I call it the 360. So I have this tool in More Than Existing that's called the 360. And the last quarter of the pie is of the 360 is the hardest, because everybody, once you start to feel good, you start achieving, you think you got it. I got this, I can start this, I can do this, and I'm going to do this. And that's what happens, right? And so it's not saying you can't start living, but to know that you don't have it all, that you don't know it all, and to keep it open. So I always keep my work open. I always say my books, I put out my books, but the one thing about this book is that this will go back into editing, is that we have the opportunity to re-edit, to revisit, to rewrite, to add on, to do anything that we want to these books. The other thing that you have is that I've written 6 other books that tell the truth from where I was here to the woman who's on the back of this book to who I am today. And now I have 6 books. These cards take you from beginning to end of the journey to when you come to the point of you get to create you, and you shouldn't be the image. You shouldn't be influenced into being somebody else. You should be able to be the best of you and to know that that's enough. And it's not enough for somebody else, then too fucking bad for them. Truth. Don't let somebody else pick you apart, right? And it's like, because there's things about you, and I don't teach people to become me. I teach everybody, because nothing pees me off anymore than when somebody starts to be me. And not because I'm offended that they're trying to be me, is because I see them and I see the beauty of them, and it makes me so much happier. It enlightens my heart and soul, and it makes me feel like, so happy to see people just accepting that you're enough, like to see you, that what's wrong with you, because the world has already told you to keep fixing this other stuff of you. All we're doing is we are emotionally maturing and evolving and doing the healing work and breaking patterns and habits and conditioning so that you can be your own creation of who you want to be. Right, Cece? It remains humble, comes in and not worrying about. That's why I said I've been down to so many times in this lifetime, that the humbling, when you can learn the power of humility. And that's what the alchemist knows. When you can learn the power of humility, and when you know the power of humility and the blessing of humility, then you can humbly walk in your own shoes and not with ego. You can have a healthy ego. The world trying to teach you to lose all ego is the world with an ego. Right? You're not here to lose all ego. You're here to understand the power of a healthy ego. To be healthy means that you also know your worth and your value. Right? Yes. Yeah. I live a whole lifetime of people trying to copy me. And not even intentional. Most times it's not intentional, and that's the thing you have to realize, is that it is not intentional. People just see something in you that they like, and they want that themselves. So that's a whole part of soul retrieval and my divine goddess work that I do. That divine goddess and the goddess within and the healer, healing the healer, all of that is about not trying to take from another by trying to lay your shit on another. It's truly about, or laying all responsibility on another, is about showing each other, look, I have this, and I have this that I found and discovered about myself, and you know what, you have that in you too. We all have it within. So I can give you the tools so that you can find yours instead of trying to take mine, instead of trying to live off of somebody else's energy. So parasites live off the life of somebody else. And we all have that ability to be a parasite of somebody else's energy. And that's where unhealthy relationships comes in. And when you don't know a healthy relationship, you think that it's okay to feed off of each other's. Yes. So soul retrieval, soul revival, it's so we do soul retrieval, and I turn mine into the soul revival of the goddess within. So we're tapping on, we're locking on to you. So it's like we're giving you the charge, right? We're charging your heart so that you can be revived, so that you didn't die, right? You didn't die. You are letting things end. You're letting old stories end. You're letting old emotional connections end, so that you can start walking towards you, because you didn't die. Nobody took your light. Your light wasn't gone. If you're still here on earth, you're still here, right? And so it's about igniting this of you, recharging the heart essence, to be able to know that the truth of you is when you learn to be able to listen to the soul self, connect to the soul self. And that's where we can bring about the biggest change in our lives. So let's validate this, because she's come with a big message today. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that message to come from her. But that's the part of being a channel. I don't know what's coming. My mouth opens and I fully trust this. And I never know what's coming. I start with an intention, but I never know where that's going to lead. And I teach all of my classes this way, is that I have well written and blueprinted and designed, but I read through the class and the energy of the class. I don't take it on. I ask what is needed for the highest good for the people that I'm teaching that day, or for the energy that's around that day. And that's where it comes from. And so I have a channeling board, and I channel through the messages, and it resonates to the topic, of course. I have topics. And so with the topic that we are in today, and so that's the card. So what does this card bring forth for you today? What does she have for you today? And I always say, journal through this card. And so when you journal through these cards, is that you can see, can you see something of yourself? Because remember, they have attitude, that you may be constantly trying to convince yourself that I've already got this, or I'm that alchemist. And then question yourself, well, what is an alchemist? And do I really have this? And so if an alchemist has no judgment, no criticizing, no need to pass on an opinion, no need to be, this or to be that. And I mean, what I mean by an opinion is not a thought. Like, you can have a thought, but the fact that trying to convince people that your side is right. And an alchemist will never do that. And an alchemist says, you know what, I'm open to listening. I have this information, I have this, and I'll share this. It doesn't mean that it's going to resonate with you. It doesn't mean that it's going to be for you. You'll take what you need for it. And you just take it out. You just let it all go. Right. And just knowing that the human journey is the journey that we're here to take, and the soul self really don't need us. And that's where we turn to golden. And so to validate this, I did just shuffle up really well. And we got Divina, forever golden. So she is also really truly in her light, and she's humanly in her light. And the alchemist is very much connected to the whole Trinity. And let me find her. Hold on. And so Davina, to validate this for you, to validate this, Davina is also a crone energy. And so she's humanly connected to her. She is fully connected to her light, and she understands healthy ego. She knows that she can be herself. She can dress however the frig she wants to dress. She can be that true self. And she knows that she has her little broken wing. She knows that sometimes she may question herself, which is the healthiest of what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to question our own self, question our motives. Because every time we want to be there to save another, you need to question your motive. Who am I really trying to save? And what purpose is this serving to me today? What is it fulfilling for me to be able to always be there to save everybody else? Because the motive is actually about serving something within yourself, to need to be needed, to need to be wanted, and those type of things. So when we do something without needing any validation, any credit, or needing to be acknowledged, or not using it to make sure that we rise to our top, then that's when we know that we're living within the truth of us. Perfect first card. It definitely resonates. Good. And good morning, everyone else that's joining. Oh, hello, Sheila. And you are back home? I love my family being here. And so Forever Davina is the validation today. She's walking in her light. She's walking in her truth. And her truth might not be the truth that's going to suit anyone else. And, people around her might be rolling their eyes saying, where did she come from? Where did we get her? But she's her. And she doesn't care if anyone else is accepting her. She's accepting her. She's given up that need to be a number one, but she also knows what is sacred of her. Her feet are not stuck in the ground if she's upright. And so she's knowing that she doesn't have to walk the path of somebody else. She don't need to become somebody else, that what's in her hands is hers, and it's hers to hold, including her own troubles, including her own shit, including her own responsibility, and that nobody can do the work that she needs to do on herself, that she can seek guidance and help, but she knows that ultimately the one person that needs to do the work is her. And so she's very aware of that. So she's walking forth. And so when you wear that truth, you wear the light. When you can wear that, you're not here to perfect life. Life will never be perfect. And the more that you keep trying to perfect life, the more that you're always bargaining and negotiating the best of you. And so what is it costing you to be constantly trying to perfect life, or trying to keep hiding the truth, the so-called truth that you think nobody else knows? Everybody knows, because your attitude shows it. Your life shows it. The lack of care for yourself, or the over care for yourself, is that shows in the attitude. That perfectionist and being so caught up in one little detail and not being able to move beyond, and constantly questioning, like, oh my God, you think that's okay? You think someone's going to laugh at me? You think all of that means that there is a whole lot of the shadow stuff, a whole lot of the emotional immaturity that is still leading the way. Yes. The second card today. Thanks, Raina, for bringing today reading to my attention. Right? You needed to be here. And she's her light. Exactly. And she is her light. That's exactly where she is living. Now, she's in the early stages of the crone. So she's very aware. She's 29. So she's very aware that she has a lot to learn. But she's given up the I know it all. I know. So every time you say, oh, I know. I don't need anything. No, I know. That's a key sign to you don't know. That's a key sign to you think you know. And so what you think you know and how much you do know. So you may have all the wisdom. You may have gone to many schools and learned many things, but there's a lot of wisdom you don't know. Right? And so my saying that I use now all the time is, well, that's interesting. Or I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but this is how I feel. And so I even approach things that I have to deal with in my relationship and say, I could be wrong. I'm as human as the rest, but this is what I'm feeling today, or this is how I'm feeling. And instead of lashing out of, you did this to me and this is happening and the world's against me, it's like, this is how this is feeling to me in my heart, in my soul. This is what I like, and it's nagging at me. So it's telling me that I really have to question something about this. And I have to, and I'm asking myself, why am I feeling this way? And what is coming up for me? And that's a much more mature way to deal with what you are facing and what is showing up for you. And when you can start to deal with things like that, because how many people walk in and literally go to the blame game? You did this and you're responsible, and everybody in my house is pissing me off today, and everybody, no, not everybody in your house is not pissing you off today. You have something within you that is irritating the shit out of you today. And why is that irritation there? What is rubbing you the wrong way? And if it's rubbing, that means it's like having a pebble in your shoe. If you have a pebble in the back of your shoe and you keep walking and you get the blister, and you cut your heel open because your shoe is rubbing and the rock that's in there, and you never stop to look to see that there was a rock in there and take it out, but you're so determined to keep walking forward. No, I'm on my walk, and nothing interferes in my walk. Well, something is interfering in your walk, and it's called peace, because you're not at peace and something is hurting, and you keep walking, you keep moving, and then you're wondering why you have that, and then you got to put a band-aid on it. So then you put a band-aid on it, and you keep walking and walking and walking, instead of, okay, let me sit with this. Let me fix the real problem. Maybe I need to tie my shoes tighter. Maybe I need to get a new pair of shoes. Maybe I need to not walk where all the pebbles are. But pebbles are always going to be around. There's always going to be something that's going to irritate you. So there's the pearl of that you get is when you realize that those little moments are opportunities, and you can take those moments, you can take those opportunities, and you can turn them into something that allows you to become the pearl, that allows you to become the gem, that allows you to become your truth. And it's simple little things that have taught me the biggest lessons in life, like having a pebble in my shoe. And when I get a pebble in my shoe, sometimes I stop and sit on a bench and I pull out my phone in the notes and I write about the pebble in my shoe. And I write about how far I walked before I stopped to take the pebble out of my shoe. And that's the truth. And so the last card that we'll use to validate this is the Fragments of You, which is hollow. And hello, everyone who's still joining in here as we're going. And this is hollow. And of course, as you can see, each of the cards look different, because as we start from when we started this to where we are, the cards have gone through 4 facelifts. Where's hollow? What number is hollow? Oh, she's way up. She's a little maiden. So hollow is a maiden. And this is how, this is, when you start to, this is the beginning of more than existing. It's the beginning of your journey. This is, she's hollow. So she's a maiden. She's the fragments of you, hollow. And this happens when you try to be this. So when you're youth and you're young and you got the potential, but you don't have the maturity, this is what happens to us. We start to break apart. We start to crumble, and our light is still there. And so it's people like myself who has the ability to see beyond, that sees this good in you. And so because you see the good, you can blow smoke up people's ass, and you can say, listen, you can be anything you want to be today. Today you can be, no, you can't. I'm like, no, today you can't be that. And so I am the realist that way. No, I'm sorry. Today you can't, because today you can't even take a freaking breath today. Today you can't even see. Today you're still so angry. So no, today you can't meet that potential. But can you meet that potential in a year, 2 years, 5 years? Possibly. Can you be that alchemist tomorrow? No. Can you be that alchemist next year? No. Because it takes a lifetime. It takes time to undo what you have been a lifetime accumulating. So everything that has taken you to here to hide that light has to be undone. And it doesn't happen by taking a psychedelic or by suppressing and forgetting everything. Oh, just forget it. Just let it go. Just let it go. What does just let it go mean? They're just words. And the energy behind said, yeah, I'm just throwing that shit away and I'm not going to deal with nothing. No, it takes by going so close to home, by coming so home to you, that you start to feel compassion and love, because love is the healer. Love is the healer. Light is the healer. And until you start to embody that light, eh, you're constantly going to be looking to a material world, an imposter light to be your truth. And as long as the imposter light is your truth, you're going to be on the run from you. And so when you start to know that even this girl who is in her fragmented pieces is a beautiful masterpiece, and she is now starting to master life, that those fragments, that hollow is still a blessing. That hollow is still grace. She's still a child of the God consciousness. She is still the most beautiful, precious piece of commodity that this world has for her, and that she is still the treasure. And so by taking that thought and taking those thoughts and let that be the golden elixir, that golden elixir can start to fill her, and that even with all that has happened, that she can start to see herself as the valuable masterpiece that now she's going to let be treated as if it is sacred, as if it is, a fragile but not, you know, a fragile but not a fragile. You know what I mean? She needs that care. She needs that love. It's that sense of self that comes when you say, I'm worth that hug. I'm worth wrapping and cloaking in this beautiful softness, because the softness is going to what keeps us safe. That's how you feel today, friends? Yeah, hollow, right? And so be that, be you her, or be you at that stage. And the alchemist at this stage, where the alchemist is, she knows that this world is not for her to become a god, not for her to become anything of that level of greatness, but for her to know her worth, that she is a piece of this light that's out there. And because we're all a piece of that light out there, and because we're not here to try to be that world, that she can embrace this whole journey. And she has taken to learning from the trees, the birds, the bees, the everything, of how intricate this world is, but how it only works. It works the best, and it works together when it learns to emotionally mature. It does not rush to growing. One tree does not look at the other tree and go, oh my God, you're getting so much bigger than me. Somebody's going to want you for a Christmas tree before me. Because the higher you get, somebody's just waiting to cut you down. And so it's that whole sense, they don't get into a competition with each other. They don't try to max out their potential. They know how tall they can grow. They know how big they can become, but there's no rush to become that, because there is a journey to take. And they take the journey before they take the journey before they max the potential. And that's the issue that we need to look at. The biggest illness we have in the world is conditioning. And when we can move beyond the illness of conditioning, we now can look at each other and say, you know what? Let's start seeing the love and the light, and let's start being that. Because even those who are fragmented, even those that may be on a different path or have a different view, are still as equal and worthy as I am. And so when you can move beyond your shadows, you have less desire to be anything, but more desire to just be. And when you just be, you now will blossom. And that's our message of today. That's our cards of today. I hope they resonate with you. And I'm going to just bring all three. No, sorry. I'm going to shrink all the other two. These were the cards of the day, and I'm going to bring these down, and I'm going to bring back the original. So this was our card of the day, and she was number 41. We are only a few days away from being done, the cards being in order, and this is the creator of worlds. She is the enchanting alchemist. She's one of my favorite cards in the deck. I absolutely love her, and she's just like, she knows that by reaching your potential, what's at the end of the potential is the end. So when you max out this life, you leave. And so why be in a rush to max out, right? You're here for the human experience and the human journey. And so enjoying the journey while you're here, because you only have one lifetime as the person you are today. One lifetime. And this lifetime is to be able to embrace and to enjoy the moments and to allow ourselves to spiritually and emotionally mature. And that takes time. And there's no quick fix drug that's going to make that happen for you. So thank you for being here with me today. And thank you for showing up every day. And for those watching later on the replay, thank you to you as well, because all of your energy is still in these cards as well. And I'll be back again tomorrow morning. Have a beautiful day. Much, much love. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.